I've moved 3 states in 5 years. I think I'm done.
I'm tired for you.
I'm like, bury me in one of these cemeteries, please.
This girl can pack a box with a
and
quickness.
unpack it again.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. It's time to get a little Fronky up in here. This is Let Me Be Fronk.
It's time to get funky. We're all getting funky. It's time for a Lisa Fronk. A Lisa Fronk.
Let me be Fronk. Hello, and welcome back to Let Me Be Fronk, a bi-weekly talk show I started in my New York City apartment to spotlight creatives, learn from brilliant minds, and connect with genuinely interesting people. If you think this is a vanity project, you're dead wrong. God made me a yapper and I happen to have a journalism degree, so get over it. In the spirit of fall and the season of spook, I have summoned the perfect guest for today's episode. This next guest is a Cali-born tatted-up baddie with undeniable spiritual gifts thanks to her native roots, currently based in the capital city of Halloween, Salem, Massachusetts. She's a former foster youth who defied many odds as a first-generation high school and college graduate. I'm so freaking proud of you.
Thank you.
Not only is she an ESL teacher, but a highly creative entrepreneur working on bigger dreams behind the scenes. 5 years ago, she discovered her love for intuitive tarot reading and found purpose in spiritual coaching. Since then, she has tapped into psychic practices, spells, tarot mastery, mediumship, and even created a 3-month course on how to learn tarot. One day she'll have the witchiest shop of her wildest dreams, mark my words. The more I learn about this friend, the more I'm in awe of her. Her resilience is moving, her heart generous, and her spirit captivating. But best of all, she is living proof that changing the trajectory of your life is possible if you, as Kim Kardashian once said, get your ass up and work. Please welcome to Let Me Be Fronk, my friend, Crystal Enriquez.
Fronk, I feel so seen right now. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that introduction. But can we just take a minute? You are an icon, showstopper, bus, plane, another club. Like, I am
Bus, plane, another club.
literally so proud of you.
Stop. Today is about you. But thank you
know,
so much.
but-
I really appreciate your affirming words and your support. This tatted up baddie, as I said, has been supporting me since day one of this project. So thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. And she commuted down from Massachusetts to be here with us today. So thank you for traveling many roads and taking treacherous
Yeah.
journeys to get here. I know driving in New York City is no easy feat. I mean, I don't even have the kahunas to do it myself. So hats off to you, sister. You are braver than the Marines.
Thank you. I will say the first time I drove into Brooklyn when I was driving through the country to get here, I actually was very petrified. But this last time, it wasn't that bad.
Because you came in on a holiday, and I think that worked to your advantage because a lot of people weren't commuting.
Right.
And yeah, it worked out nicely. And I hope
Yeah.
when you leave tomorrow, Boo, everyone's crying, that it's a safe and seamless journey back.
Thank you.
But you're only 4 hours away, so it's not that bad.
And it's a beautiful drive with the foliage right now. So it's really,
I can only imagine. How are you feeling?
I'm a little nervous. I've never done anything like this, so I feel very honored to be here.
Okay, you're such a cutie patootie. Don't be nervous at all. This is just going to be a fun
Shy girl.
conversation between two gals yapping it up like we normally do. There just
Yes.
happens to be lights, camera, action, and a producer, okay?
Yeah, you would never suspect I'm a Leo if that's the case.
LOL, you love
Literally.
this. Come on. Like,
I know.
You're
I do.
not
I have to
shy in
get
front of a
comfortable.
camera.
I do need to get more comfortable.
You are, don't lie to my audience. We know you're a star and you're going to be a natural and they're going to love you. So don't even worry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If I was truly worried about you translating well on camera, I just wouldn't have asked you to be on.
I know,
If
I
I'm
know.
being so Fronk in this moment.
Yes.
Stars only. Okay, so I want to start off with how we met.
Yes. Okay.
Which is a beautiful story. So all the dedicated viewers and listeners know, if you'll recall episode 3 when I had one Miss Anna Vitoni on, entrepreneur, writer, author, etc., and the founder of the hit program PBA, Personal Brand Accelerator. It's a course I took a few years ago online to build my own personal brand. At the time, Crystal was one of the coaches leading a small group. So I met her virtually. I was actually trying to recall the specific moment, but I know we sidebar at one time, and I can't recall if it was just to get to know each other or I wanted to talk to you about tarot. I don't know, but we just started to sidebar and form our own friendship. And then
The rest was history, really.
we eventually met each other in person, and then we just fully formed our own friendship. But it
Yeah.
honestly started through Zoom,
PBA.
through social media, and through PBA.
Yeah. I think you did talk to me about tarot, and then you actually came to Beacon Hill when Anna and I lived together
Yes.
for the first time. So that was like when we
Yes.
first met, right? In
That's
person.
the first time I met everyone in the flesh. Anna
Yes.
herself, my
And I-
PBA girlies, shout out.
Yeah, and I did a reading for you that night.
Oh my God, that was one of my. Okay, no, she
Yes.
did a reading for the group. It was, oh my
Right.
God, picture this 5 gorgeous girls in the cutest, patootiest Beacon Hill living room apartment.
That
2
apartment.
dogs, low lighting, witchy music on, candles lit, sage going off, Crystal absolutely in her element. And she goes around and gives everyone just like an amazing, thorough reading. And there were things revealed in that reading that absolutely came true. And let me just say, like, my girl's the real deal. Like, this is no joke. These are her birthright gifts and talents. As I referenced that in the opening, she is of Native and Indigenous ancestry. And if you know anything about that culture, they are deeply connected to the spiritual world. So this is why I'm like, this isn't just any regular TikTok girly pulling some cards and telling you what's up. Like, no, she is like in it with the spirit world.
It definitely took many years to
Of
get
course.
to that place, but
And we'll get there. I had the time of my life. I was like,
Yeah.
this is my idea of having fun on a weekend.
yes, like it was very memorable night for sure.
It was gorgeous. And you were
Like-
so generous and gave us all like
Yeah.
a ton of your time and energy individually.
Yeah.
And just were such a champ about it. And I can only imagine how much energy that takes you to do.
I love what I do. It doesn't ever feel like true work, like, because it just feels like I love to hear people's stories. I mean, tarot is sharing like your deepest vulnerable secrets and just like parts of yourself that you just need guidance on. So I love to get more insight. That's how I connect with people. It's that Scorpio moon in me. I want to know what you've been through and like how you've overcome it.
I see you, I hear you, I relate. I want to know the nitty gritty. I want to know what makes people tick. I
Yeah.
want to know their origin stories, their background, everything that makes them who you are. Speaking of, let's get into yours.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much.
I want to go ahead and just preface this by saying there might be some topics that trigger people up top.
Yes.
I'm just kind of gently flagging that here. Nothing, we won't get into anything too graphic. Crystal's going to tell her story, but I just wanted to be considerate of topics that may trigger people and also say like I'm holding space for you and you're in good company. We're 2 women with complicated childhoods.
Yeah.
So you are safe. You're welcome here.
Thank
And
you.
if you're not in the place to hear about things like this, just come back to this a different day. But we love you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for creating that space always. I always feel safe with you, Fronk.
And I always want you to feel safe with me. That's really important.
Yes. So, I mean, I had a very tumultuous childhood. At 5 years old, just remember like the very first time I was taken from my mother. My mom was a drug addict, alcoholic, and was just not fit to take care of me. I was 5 years old and placed into foster care. I was in a total of 10 homes and faced all abuse. You could think of sexual, mental, physical, and verbal. And these families, some were in it for the money, some were in it for control. And then you had your once in a blue moon family who truly like wanted to make a difference. And there was a home that did make a difference in my life. They were the longest home I was in. I was after that first year, I landed into their home. I was 6. They had 3 kids of their own. And yeah, I mean, they showed me like my moral compass for sure. They were very Christian, conservative, 35 years of marriage, and just like the epitome of what the American dream is, I feel like. And so growing up with them, I was very fortunate. I got to do things that most kids didn't get to do. Like we got to travel to Disneyland, go to Europe. And that was like really special, those moments, because it showed me like what I could have if I really worked hard and got an education. Like my dad was a civil engineer. Well, I call him dad because he raised that family raised me
Yeah.
for like a long time.
How
of my
many
life.
years were you with them?
I was with them from the ages 6 to 14.
Wow,
So,
okay.
Good amount of years. Listen, I chose English for a reason. I don't know the years. Like, you guys can do the math. But,
English degree.
yeah, linguistics. So yeah, I like always looked up to them, always wanted to please them. Like, I will say, like, growing up as the youngest of 5, I have 4 siblings biologically.
Okay.
And
And where do you fall?
I'm the youngest. I'm the
Baby.
baby. Yes. We all have different dads except for my 2 oldest brothers. So there's 4
Okay.
different dads. Unfortunately, I don't know my dad. My dad probably doesn't know I exist, and that's okay. I really don't have any more curiosity of who he is or like what's happened. And the one indication that my biological mom, had of him, he died in a freak accident, unfortunately, a few years ago.
Oh my God.
So it was kind of like, I don't think the stars were aligned for us to meet, really. And so, yeah, growing up in that foster home, it was like no family's perfect,
Of course. Yeah.
And I will say they gave me food in my belly, like clothes on my back, a place to stay, experiences. I will say there was like one thing that I just couldn't get from them, which is like that emotional connection. And so growing up, like visiting my biological mom, like I got it from her. I always refer to it like that family gave me book smart and my mom gave me street smart, like my biological mom. So it just, I got to choose what I got from each parent in that way.
How often were you allowed to see your mom?
It really depended on her sobriety. Like my mom
Okay.
would go through phases. Like she'd get sober and then she would relapse. We would get like supervised visits, which is a social worker's present, or unsupervised visits, which the social worker is not present, overnight visits, and then it would become like long term where I get to stay here for more a couple days. And then eventually reunification is what it's called, to like get back with her. So I did at one point when I was 9 years old, like get to be with my mom. And then unfortunately she was abusive and I was right back into the system, placed in that family's home. And that's the thing is like that family was so good about advocating for me. Like you typically don't choose your home. They just place you wherever. And so I was placed with them. And then once I like hit about 12 years old, I was just very rebellious. I could not be told what to do. I just was like very adamant, like my foster mom telling me that I was ready to have a baby and like be a mom. Like that was just the mindset I had. Like I was very boy crazy, very just like wanted to be loved, truly, I think is what it was. Like growing up in the church, I did feel like an outcast at a very young age. Like I was raised by a white family. Like it was definitely like already there, feeling separated from them. But after like I would say 12, like I did meet a boy who was 16 and it just was not legal for one. And it really shaped my identity around just like my body and like how I saw myself. Like my parents didn't ever talk to me about the birds and bees. Like even though they had me since I was 6, like I was figuring things out on my own. Like I didn't know what I wanted or like what love really meant and like what to look for in a guy or like the fact that I shouldn't even be looking at 12 years old. I was just exposed to things at a very young age that just made me grow up. And so when I turned 14, it just got so bad. My parents and I had to talk that my biological mom was like really making the efforts to become sober for good and just said, we don't think we can do much for you anymore. And maybe it's time to like reunify with your mom. And that's the ultimate goal. Like I never got adopted, which typically being with the family that long, you try. And I think they did want to adopt me at one point in time. And there were times where like, I just didn't even want a relationship with my biological mom, but they didn't let that happen. And so I'm really fortunate that they pushed me to make this relationship with my biological mom. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's such a duality when you're going through like abuse and whatnot. And so in high school, I was 14. I moved back with my mom for good. This is the first time I'm like truly gaining a relationship with my biological mom. And she's sober. And I was just still very afraid of her. I made her life hell. I will admit that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I love my mom, but she put so much fear into me that it was just like, why should I gain a relationship with you? So after the first year, like I was released at 15. So I didn't technically age out of the system. You age out when you're 18. But at 15, I was completely released from foster care, but I was still very close to like my social workers because I knew my mom enough to know that she wasn't going to stay sober. And she didn't. Like a year later, she relapsed. And it was really hard to watch my mom fall back into that pattern
Yeah.
and just be in a very detrimental situation with her. Like, come the end of my sophomore year, like my mom was raging alcoholic again and just like instilled so much fear and control. She was a hoarder and she would admit this. Like, this is nothing new. We've talked about this. And so, like, it was just really foreign to like even get to know my siblings at this point, like my biological siblings. They all had their kids. Like, I was the only one who was just like trying to pursue an education because that was like my safe space growing up, was just like school. And so living with my mom, I mean, I was catching the city bus at 14 and just like holding my own hand, like trying to get my education.
Yeah.
Because the statistics of a foster kid getting even a college degree is less than 3%. So it's like,
Less than 3%.
Right.
Wow.
so it's like very unheard of. Or you're like, by the age of 21, you're either incarcerated, pregnant, homeless, or dead. Like that, those are the
my God.
statistics of a foster kid. And so, you know, luckily I had a lot of people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself in school, that it really pushed me to like do it. And I was very self-destructive in high school. I was bullied and I was very just like low self-esteem. Like my mom would leave me with a boy, like, and go to her boyfriend's house and we'd be drinking. Like it just was stuff like that that I'm like, this is not normal. And I don't know who I am and like what I'm doing. And that's kind of how I felt like growing up all the time. Like hence the borderline personality disorder in my adulthood. And but you know, come the end of my sophomore year, my mom puts me in this really dangerous situation. Like I won't get into detail. But it was enough to have like police involved and removed from her home and just be placed with my oldest sibling. And I mean, it wasn't any better. Like living with my oldest sister at that time, she had young children, also very like similar to my mom with substance abuse and control. And I was just very unhappy, like trying to get through school, get an education again. And like come the end of my junior year, like this is when things were kind of really changing for me because social workers just didn't listen. Like I would talk to my school counselor. She would vouch for me, like shout out to Shelby Ortiz. Like she just got me through. She like knew what was happening with me and just was trying so hard to like advocate. Like I was getting neglected. And the thing about the foster care system, it's just so corrupt. Towards the end of like my senior year, I was in a situation with my mom and my sister. They got in a physical altercation and I was hit and I had a bruise and I was able to go to school and tell my school counselor, okay, like I have a bruise on my arm now. Like, is this considered abuse? She's like, yes, we're calling the police. We're calling the social workers. They all came to the school. And at one point they're trying to investigate the situation. But the night before, my sister's like cleaning the house, like knew that the police would come. The next morning, social workers would check the house and whatnot. But it's like, I was watching like my family kind of go through the loops and holes of it all. And so the next day at school, my sister kicks me out. She's like, leave the key. You're not coming back here.
She kicked you out.
Yes, I was a senior.
After the social workers, police came to her house, reviewed, and were like,
There's nothing wrong here.
and they weren't going to remove you. She kicks you out on the street at 15 years old.
I was 17
Okay.
or 16, something like
A
that.
child?
Still a minor, yeah. And so I didn't know where I was going to go that night. Like I didn't know what I was like involved in musicals. I was a huge theater kid.
Love.
Leo energy. It was like my safe haven. Like I truly love, but like after rehearsal was done at 5, I'm like, where am I going to go? Like, and my mom, what I was missing in the story is like my mom was arrested that night, supposedly. And so she had the full rights over me. So like, it wasn't like I could just go anywhere. She had to give consent, like for me to go maybe back to my foster parents, like, you know, a safe place. And so I remember that night after like rehearsal, I go in the bathroom, I'm sobbing, like, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I call Shelby and I'm like, hey, this is what's happening. Police officers just showed up today, like at rehearsal, and are telling me that I don't respect my sister enough, like that I'm just kind of a bratty kid, like that I didn't, like I need therapy, like as if I wasn't in therapy my whole entire life. Like I suffered from trichotillomania, OCD, anxiety, and it just, I shouldn't have been alone in a room with 2 social workers and 2 police officers being questioned.
With no one there to advocate for you or
Right.
help you.
Right. And so
It's
was
predatory. Shame on you.
Yes. And so she's like, I'm coming to the school right now. And she got the CEO of one of my foster agencies involved, got him down to the school. And the police officer who was involved in the incident of the altercation with my mom and sister called. And he had told me that night, if you don't get out of this house, like call me. If you don't get removed, there are pieces I'm missing. I'm sorry. It's just hard to like recollect. But we were all sitting at school at Bullard High, like till 9 p.m., just like trying to figure out where I was gonna go. And luckily, these are moments where I'm like, is there a God? But like, my mom just happened to call my phone. My mom didn't have a phone. Like, my mom was like nowhere to be found. I thought she was arrested, and just happened to call. And I'm like, you need to tell this officer right now that I need to go home with my foster parents because my sister is not able to take care of me. She kicked me out. And she's like, yeah, like go. Like it's fine. Like tell the police officers to let you go, whatever. So that's how I got back into my foster parents' home. Like there were just so many things that were happening in high school that I don't know how I made it out. Like I really didn't think I would live to see another day in high school. Like I was so self-destructive because of all this stuff and like trying my best. And so in my junior year, my school counselor got me involved to speak in front of the Fresno Unified School District panel, like 500 teachers almost, and just share my story of like how teachers, counselors like really made an impact in my life with like what I was going through. And it led me to my senior year for my principal to invite me to speak in front of all the principals of the school district.
God.
And at this time, like it was starting to become graduation. I had applied to 4 CSUs. I got denied to every single one. Like school, I barely passed with like less than a 3.0. And like when I was sharing my story, my principal grabbed the mic at the end because I didn't tell them I got denied. It was embarrassing. And he was like, Crystal got denied to all the CSUs, but like she's still going to go to community college and get an education because she's resilient, and like vouching. And it just so happened that there was a lady who was the wife of the director of admissions at one of the CSUs I applied to. She pulled me off to the side. She was like, my husband is in charge of the applications, and I'm going to pull your application, tell him to reconsider.
I have chills right now.
Yeah, she was like, reconsider your denial. You're going to college.
What college?
Fresno State.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
Thank you. So that's how
Sharing
I
your story literally in that moment changed the trajectory of your life.
That is where I think the inspiration came from, like with content creation and just like really being open about like there's hope, you know. And I didn't want to be resilient. Like it took people in my life to get me to where I am now, because college was hard. It took me 6 years. I failed my intro linguistics class 3 times, and my professor was the chair of the department, and he was like, you're coming to the final, and if you get this grade, I'll pass you and you'll go and get this degree. And I did. It took me 6 years, but I have a degree now. It's a lot. I mean, I know it's heavy.
No, there's just a lot to unpack. Really. I don't think you are too much or your story is too much. I mean, obviously everything you just shared is super vulnerable, but it also was not your decision. People can't help the families they're born into, the circumstances, the socioeconomic class they're born into.
Right.
You are dealt a deck of cards, and what you do with it is your power. And, you know, and all that to say is like, you don't have much power or much agency and decision making when you are a minor. There are laws you have to abide by. Every time I hear something about foster care, it really breaks my heart, because you're absolutely right. It is super corrupt and broken in this country, and the way that foster kids are treated is abhorrent. It's absolutely abhorrent.
My gosh, Fronk, there's so many stories I haven't even told. Like there was a family that literally, me and the sisters, they weren't my, like, they were also foster children. They dropped us off at a nightclub in high school and
Excuse
was
me?
like, "Good luck until 2 a.m."
Wait,
Like, literally,
what?
because
What were they
so this
insinuating?
club was known for predatory men. And, like,
they were just literally dropping you
they're
off,
like,
feeding you to
"Bye,
the
like,
wolves?
good luck, like,
Like,
getting home."
what was the...
I don't know.
They just wanted to with you? Like,
I don't know. I wish I
how old were you?
I was early high school. Yeah, like, I wasn't
14,
I
15?
might have been. It's such a blur, and this is what trauma does to you. You just kind of, like, forget.
Yeah.
But no, it was definitely late middle school, early high school, I
Oh
would
my
say, for
God.
sure.
That is...
Like, I vividly remember, like, at the time, my biological mom was not allowed to come see me, like, without an appointment and whatnot. Like, there was a time with that family, I was so deathly sick. The parents weren't home. I had no medication, like,
I mean,
nothing.
they weren't home.
Like, they were at work. Like, I
Oh.
was left home alone. Like,
And they didn't take you to the doctor?
and so I called my biological mom. I'm like, she came and gave me medicine. She wasn't supposed to, but she did. I was like, shout out to mom.
It's just...
It's stuff like that.
I also want to hold space and empathy for your mom because, not to speak for you, but your relationship to her is much different now.
Yes.
But she has had a long and storied life with addiction and
Yes.
abusive cycles and drug issues and all of the above. But she has worked very, very,
Incredibly
very
hard.
hard to bounce back from that.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm really inspired by both of your relationships. Of course, it's not perfect. Of course, unfortunately, when trauma happens and years and decades of it will never go away. It can never be erased.
Yeah.
I'm sure you still get triggered by your family a lot
Abs-
and the wounds are still there.
This is why I'm not living in California. I love my family. And just to attest to, like, what you're saying with my mom, like, for those who don't know, like, she's not an evil woman. She got sober, turned her life to God, and has been sober for, like, almost 20 years.
Amazing.
And has her own place, like, is truly the most independent, fearless woman I've ever met. She's a grandma now. Like, she's been a grandma for a while.
but an
And
active grandma.
very active, just, like, really, I will say, tries to make up for lost time with our
Yeah.
relationship. But, like, I really try to remind my mom that there's nothing at this point that she could do or say to break our bond. We really have come a long way. And a lot of it is, like, I've done the work in the therapy, and my mom has attempted, but she's been through so much. It's, like, hard, and cathartic to rehash that trauma when you're getting older, and she's now,
course.
like, getting in a walker and stuff. It's really
Yeah.
hard to watch my mom age, but, like, I'm so grateful. She's been my true biggest supporter, like, in everything I've done.
What's your mom's name again?
Melissa.
Melissa.
La
Shout out.
Crazy.
I see her hot in your comments all the time, always hyping you up.
She's my
so-
moderator on TikTok Live.
Period. As she should be. It's evident she's so proud of you, and
Yes.
you two have a very special bond. And I think people are quick to villainize bad parents, but, like, I don't think it's fair to label her as a bad parent.
No.
Because she was struggling with major addiction issues, and
Right.
addiction is a disease. It's a devastating disease.
Right.
And honest to God, it's a damn miracle she survived it and got out of it.
Yes.
And I think even in the few stories you just shared, it was never about a lack of love for you. It was just that, like, she was really fighting some really bad demons.
Yeah. And
but in those moments, like, she showed up when she could, like, even bringing you to the medicine, which was illegal, but, like, she loved you, and she was like, I'm able to show up and give her this medicine. Like, I love my daughter. I'll risk getting in trouble just to help her. So
Yeah.
it's very evident to me that she's always loved you, and she really was trying her best at those times. Of course, the fact of the matter is you still were extremely let down and not taken care of and not protected when you needed to be by a lot of people, not just Melissa, but many, 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 many adults did wrong
Yes.
by you. However, she's tried, and she's put one foot in front of the
Yes.
other, and now 20 years later, like, you guys are in a totally different place. And
Oh
I
my
think that's
gosh.
beautiful.
I have so much respect for her because of that effort.
I do too.
Like, I don't think if she had put that effort in, we would have a relationship today.
To even have the strength to be like, I messed up. I'm wrong. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
You're right. Nothing can ever repair that. Nothing can ever erase that. I
Right.
won't say repair, because obviously you both have done a lot of work to repair
Yeah.
and mend the
totally.
relationship. But I I gotta give credit to her because it sounds like she's been upfront about what she did
Oh,
wrong, and
absolutely.
she wants to
Yes.
make up
The
for time lost, and
humility, like, it is just, again, admirable because
it's hard to have humility. I can't
yeah,
even imagine.
it's why I was so inspired to, like, build this relationship with her
Mhm.
because I will say there were other parents in my life who also did me wrong and
Clearly.
never admitted
I
it.
mean, it sounds
Like,
like most of your
really,
foster families, honest to God.
you literally even
Even the
the
good
good
ones. I
ones.
mean, that's the thing with parenthood. No parent is perfect.
Yeah,
We're humans. No human is perfect. We're all gonna fail, mess up,
yeah,
hurt each other at some point. But you're right. It's the humility. It's how you bounce back from it. It's how you take ownership for your actions.
and wanna grow and, like, just build a
That's the name of the
sustainable
game.
and I will say too, it takes yourself as someone who's been through the trauma and abuse to be able to, like I wouldn't say forgive, but be able to, like, choose what it is you wanna do with that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just them saying, "I'm sorry, I wronged you." Like, it's important, but I think it's also important that you also put in the work to, like, do what you can on your end.
1050%. I mean, most of this stuff was done to you in childhood when you're extremely impressionable, when your brain is literally
Not
still developing. You're
developed.
trying to figure out who you are. And it's like
Yeah.
you could have internalized that and been like, all this pain, all this trauma, all this hurt is done because I'm unworthy. I deserve this.
Yeah.
I am a fuck up, and this is the life I'm supposed to be.
For many years, I was that.
It sounds like you
Yeah.
struggled with that, and who could blame you? I mean, you were
Yeah.
a lost, confused, neglected kid. That has a lifelong lasting impact.
Totally. I
It's
still
really a
struggle.
miracle. I'm sure
Not so much anymore, but yes.
but, like, you have done the work
Right.
to unpack it, to grow and learn, and you've
Yeah.
pushed yourself. You've done years of therapy. You talk about this
Mindfulness,
openly. Like,
like
you chose to do the work on yourself.
right.
You decided, like, this early life that I was not in the driver's seat driving the car, like, I can't help 99% of the things that happen to me, but
Right.
it's not gonna be the story of my life. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a chapter or a few
Right.
chapters of my life, but it's not gonna be the path. It's not gonna be the thing that defines me
Right.
forever. I don't have to live in this world forever. I actually have the power. I have the brains. I have the ambition, the resilience to get
Yes.
out. But my God, that takes a lot of strength.
Yeah,
So
I do believe it takes a village too. Like people who believe in you.
absolutely.
I don't think I could have been where I'm at today without people like Fronk or like
Stop.
Anna
Stop.
or like just good healthy community. That is why I moved back here because I really need people who see that side of myself because I still struggle today. Like, I don't know who I am. I'm like, am I the tatted baddie or am I the teacher or am I like the shy Crystal who's like still a victim in some ways? Like, or am I fucking, writing a book? Like, I don't, there's just so
You're a
many.
woman who contains multitudes.
Right.
You're all of those things. And that's the beauty. We're not one dimensional. Humans aren't one dimensional.
Yeah.
And if you think you're one dimensional, seek treatment. I really appreciate something you said earlier where there were handfuls of adults who really instilled confidence
Yes.
and believed in me and were rooting for me, like
Yes.
the guidance counselors, the principals, all those people. And I'm not going to compare our lives like totally different, but I do attribute the adults outside of my family system for a good amount of my success because
Yeah.
like I needed those outside affirmations. I needed that confidence. I needed
The push.
yeah, and it's like just people who took the time
Yes.
to get to know me, to talk to me, to hear about my dreams, my aspirations, but in a non-predatory way, in no
Yeah.
way were they trying to gain something selfishly
Right.
or use or abuse me. They just genuinely thought I was a cool kid
Yeah.
and special, and they wanted me to know I was special. And I think about those people all the time. There's so many, and I'm so lucky for those people. I also think like it's hard to explain, but I feel like I was born with something else, like this
Same.
drive and this ambition.
Yeah.
It just has, I've been very, very fortunate. It's always come really naturally to me that I wanted to do better. I wanted to blow past people's expectations of me.
Yeah.
And maybe that was like
Same.
older child syndrome, like me trying to be the perfect kid and get like the golden child and get like more attention and more accolades and affirmations and things like that. However, I just had this awareness when I was a kid. I was like, I'm not in the driver's seat of my life. but when I am, I'm going to create the life I want. I always told that to
Yes.
myself. When I turned 18, when I moved away to college, that's when that journey started.
Fronk, that's literally my whole mindset. As a kid, I was like, if I can just get to 18,
Yeah.
like I have a fighting chance to do something different. Like I
Right.
watched my foster family who like did all these grand things and told us get an education, get a 9 to 5, do this and you'll have the life we have. And then I watched my biological mom be on Section 8 and food stamps and like single mom. Like I had two extremes and I got to choose.
You lived in two different worlds.
Yeah, I was like, which one do I want? And when I'm
Right.
18, I get to choose.
You know, I think it's fair to say that you really got valuable life lessons from both sides of the tracks, if
Yes.
you will.
Yes, that's how I felt. The church I went to, I was like, I'm trying to talk to people about like how at 18 I was like very lost in college, trying to figure out how to make the next buck and went into stripping. And when I told the church about this, like I want to be loved by Jesus and like do different and be better, it was like I was looked at as a taboo topic because I was open and questioning and like wanting to do more, but they were like, we can't
You
help
literally
you.
chose stripping as a survival.
Yeah. And I was
Because
like,
you
I
needed
know deep down this
money.
is not what I want.
Right.
And it's like, someone please like teach me what is else out there.
You were
like,
asking for help, and instead of help, they just judged you.
right. It was really difficult. Like, this is why I'm no longer a Christian. Unfortunately. Well, not even unfortunately.
I don't have enough time to rip into the
That's
evangelical
okay.
church
We don't have
today.
to. I'd
But
prefer not to.
as someone who grew up in the church my entire life, and I went to several different churches, all different types of denominations, I've gotten a little bit of taste of everything. Obviously, it's not the collective whole, not all Christian, not all evangelical. Okay, evangelical is a different thing, but not all Christians are evil people. There are lots of
I agree.
wonderful, generous,
Yes.
amazing community leaders who are doing right by their faith.
Yes.
And shout out to those people, you know who you are.
Yes.
But there's a lot of damage that the church has created. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the teachings, which do stem from love and acceptance and healing, are often misconstrued and often overlooked or
Mhm.
manipulated to fit a narrative
Right.
that's not what it was intended to be.
Yes.
And so often these bodies of people tend to judge and look down and shun and shame and cast out.
yes.
And that's not what the Christian faith is about.
No, like when I lost my virginity, which I'm very open about at 12 years old due to this man,
Mm.
it was statutory rape. My parents found out. This is really hard to say on camera, but like I'm going to say it anyway. It was 14 when my parents found out, and my foster mom, like I'll never forget, she was in the room and found out and told me like that I would never be looked at the same because I was no longer a virgin and I didn't save myself for God. Words do cut. To this day, I still struggle. Like, I feel like there's a part of me that's like, and I know I have a lot to give, but like there were many years where I was like, do I have anything to give? Like a man or like just anyone? Because you know what I mean?
First
like,
and foremost, I'm so sorry that was said to you.
It's okay.
We know that's not fucking true. And
I-
also, like,
I don't know.
I'm not gonna, give anyone a tongue lashing like they deserve, but you were a child. What
Yeah.
was done to you was a crime. And honest to God, it's on them for not protecting you better.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, like why you've struggled with that, because you were a child and you were revealing one of the most vulnerable moments of your life. And a trusted guardian responded to you with shame and said your value just decreased. Like,
Yeah.
how do you not toil and toss with that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Like, words stick with you forever. You really can never take back what you say.
Yeah.
And even if that person doesn't agree with what they said in the moment, the fact of the matter is you did say that and it did damage and hurt my
Right.
friend. And I'm pissed at you. So,
And I actually did talk to them about it, and it was not met with so much apologetic
you know
energy.
what? And that's between them and their God. And I'll leave it at that. Anyways,
Yeah. I know this is like tough, but
it's tough
it's
stuff.
true.
But like,
It's my experience, and
but I hope people hear or watch this and not to be so cliche, but are inspired by it and are moved
Yeah.
by it and take the lessons out, which is resilience is sometimes your greatest strength.
Yeah.
Resilience will carry you through the toughest and hardest of seasons. And you really do have the power if you dig down deep, if you cling to those things that are good for
Safe,
you,
like
the actual safe people in your life,
and
or
habits and
the belief in
outlets.
yourself, healthy creative outlets for yourself. And if you have the courage and the brain and the imagination to dream the reality you want, I think that's another thing that connects us is we're both big dreamers.
Yes.
Huge imaginations. All I ever did as a kid was daydream.
Yes.
I would just think about like my dream life. Not that I was always trying to escape my childhood. I've always
You
been
just had
very
big goals, a big personality.
I've always
like-
been super imaginative.
Yes,
I'm always
that's the
like
Aquarius
I've-
energy.
My head was always a bit in the clouds. Like I just was always in another land thinking about things. That's just how I am. I had this ability to picture something else. And I was like, well, if I can picture it, I just got to find a way to it.
Right.
It like moved me and inspired me, and it made
It's
me
like
want to
looking
make
in
a
a
plan
mirror.
of action to like how to get there. Let me figure it out. Like at least I'll try. I don't know if I'll ever achieve it, but
Like,
I'm not gonna not try.
and you're not gonna ever live a life asking what if. You know
no
what
one's
I mean?
gonna do it for me.
Right. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we are very much the same in that way as a kid.
Yes.
Like, I had such big dreams. Truly.
And you're making them come true.
Little by little.
And we should talk about that.
I'm a Pandora's box, everyone.
Yeah.
Listen, there's not enough time to be able to talk about everything.
Well, Crystal has many stories. We're only getting to the bullet points today. So thank you for being here and along on this journey. I want to move on to tarot and spiritual coaching.
Yeah,
So
let's do it.
when did you first realize that you had a connection to the spiritual world?
It really wasn't until like 5 years ago because I grew up Christian. And so all my life I was like, I'm a good guesser. Like I just had this literal ability to like predict people.
Amazing guesser.
And
If only there was
and
a
I
word
didn't
for
have
that.
and I didn't have the language. And now it's intuition.
The Christian household, was it like very anti-witchcraft?
Oh my
and
God. Yes, my parents and I don't talk because of this now.
LMAO, your loss. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to read or watch Harry Potter.
Oh
like,
yeah, we weren't allowed to watch
just was
like
silly.
anything rated R or like PG-13.
but it's so funny. I've like brought that up before, and my mom has been like, "What?" Like, because like it's not actually a strong conviction she holds. It just was like what the church was telling us, and being like,
like we weren't even allowed to dress up really for Halloween, like anything remotely dark.
Oh my god,
like-
there were years where I wasn't allowed to do Halloween, and as Halloween's #1 fan, basically, not really, but
yes.
I love Halloween. Is my favorite holiday. Devastating as a girl who loves to put on a costume and be silly. Absolutely
Same.
devastating. Like
Yes.
torture, basically. But it all like stemmed back from church stuff, not actual stuff that like I feel like my family or my
Right.
mom or my parents actually like
believed
believed
maybe.
in. I mean, of course, my mom didn't want me dressing up as like a little Satan or anything
Yeah.
running around. That's not really her taste.
I wanted to.
We have different senses of humor. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But I was so molded by like these strict views that
Yeah.
this is actually almost embarrassing to admit. But up until age 24, when people would dress up as a witch for Halloween, I judged the hell out of them. I was like, that's low hanging fruit. That is no
It's like a-
creativity. It's predictable.
You're saying like basic bitch. Like
I was just like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
a witch, groundbreaking, just like boring snooze, because I hadn't really connected to witch culture or
Mhm.
dove into pop culture references or anything.
Mhm.
And then I saw Wicked on Broadway.
I have yet to see it.
Okay,
and
we
it's
need it.
out now in the movies, like with Ariana
it will
Grande.
it will be Thanksgiving week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
and I will
sorry.
be seeing that absolutely. But when I saw Wicked, Elphaba turned it all around for me. After that, I was like, I respect the hell out of witches. Everyone who dresses as a witch for Halloween is a consumer and lover of art, and you are beautiful, and I will never judge you again. And I literally
Yes.
dressed up as a witch last year for Halloween. It was such a
Love,
healing
love.
full circle moment. But
Mhm.
yeah, nothing's wrong with witches. I think they actually do a lot more good than people want to admit.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm a witch.
yeah, she is, and I want to hear all about it.
5 years ago was when I really okay, so I left home for the first time, packed my bags and was like, I'm out of California.
Mhm.
And I was really in this place of like true independence to decide what it was I believed in and not so much the church. And so, one day I'm just kind of like scrolling on TikTok and I see these tarot readings and I'm like,
Not
what
the
is
TikTok tarot.
I will shamefully admit that's how it started. So I was like, why does this hit home like so naturally? Like, I don't know what it is. So I got into like the angel numbers and realized like, okay, like energy is real. Like there's
Yeah.
something like I was like manifesting things that I just didn't know I had. It was like not this paranormal, like ghostly experience. It just was one of those things that I was like, I'm really intrigued by this and I don't know why. And it feels really safe and easy and natural. And so I got gifted a tarot deck and
Really? Randomly?
my first, no, it was a sister of mine,
Okay.
a foster sister.
Shout out.
Well, we don't talk anymore, but it's okay. Anyways,
Retracted.
she gifted me this tarot deck and I was like, I'm going to make it a hobby, like to literally just get to know the cards and like master them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. For 6 months, I was like hitting the books and like just really intrigued by it. And then that is how I met lovely Anna Vitoni and was like just graduated out of college and like deciding what I want to do with this hobby. Like I feel like I have a lot to share with the world and I was already online and just kind of curious. And so it wasn't until like she kind of put it in my head, Anna Vitoni, to like start making a brand out of it. And then I got on, like, I was kind of doing readings for close friends and family. And when they started saying, like, okay, this is like crazy accurate and like things like that, I was like, maybe that's just because they're friends and family, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Then I get on my first live, like on TikTok, and I'm like reading for this girl. I'll never forget. She was like, I don't have any questions. I just want you to like read for me. Mind you, I've never seen her face. I don't know anything about her. I just was reading her chat in the screen. And I'm pulling cards. I didn't even really need my cards, to be honest, but I was trying to trust my intuition. And I was like, just seeing a father figure. And I was like, is this about your dad? She's like, oh my God, yeah. And I was like, getting the word alcoholic coming up. And I'm like, does he drink a lot? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, did you guys like get in a fight or something? And she goes, oh my God, yeah, like we did. And I was like, he didn't apologize. She's like, how do you know all
Five
this?
for five in the matter of seconds?
And I'm just like,
are
and
you
this
kidding
was
me?
Like, and mind you, you had the people who were like, she's reading out of a book, like she's not real, and like all this stuff. And I was like, we all start somewhere. Like, bye. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And it's
anyways,
called an encyclopedia, bitch. Just kidding.
that's me. I've been told I was an encyclopedia once.
Period.
And that was like really the true moment, I would say, that showed me I had a gift. That's the connection. That is my purpose and calling. And then the rest was history. Like I started to monetize it and make a brand. And now I would call myself a professional. Like that's my career.
I believe you're a professional. I mean, I've seen your talents and your work in action. I have to tell the story of the bachelorette party.
Oh, yeah.
It is the craziest story ever. So I'm sure there's tons of skeptics out there. You're probably listening or watching this and disbelieving, and that's okay. Like, teach their own. You're allowed to believe what you want to believe,
Right.
and I'll leave it at that. Last year, one of my best friends, Riley Meek Tibbs, shout out, was getting married. So
Yes.
I'm one of her best friends, and we planned a bachelorette for her on like our girl sleepover night. I hired Crystal to via Zoom do readings for the group. Anyone who wanted a reading, just kind of like was like,
Chime
if you
in.
want it, go for it. If you don't, and then we did this as a group. So we're all sitting around, and like one person came up at a time and sat in front of the computer. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. The first person to come up and do a reading, shout out Bryce Allen, huge supporter and fan of the show. Love you, girl. She was the first to get a reading. And you're like going through your cards, you're getting in the zone, and you're kind of like being fidgety. And you're like, okay, like I'm so sorry. I'm really struggling right now. But like, I never do this. I never ever do this, but I do have psychic ability. And I really am uncomfortable doing this because like I haven't done it much, but someone is coming forward and they will not leave me alone. And they said I have to like let them know they're here. And you're like, is there a like deceased male figure in your life with an R name? She immediately starts hysterically crying. And her best friend is in the room, starts crying too. I didn't know who she was talking to, but half of the group did. And they were all like, holy shit. Like they all go super quiet and everyone's stunned. I can't remember verbatim, but he was like, he kept saying like something and being pushing and like a phrase.
I do remember that energy.
And she was like, that's my grandpa Ruben.
Yeah.
We were extremely close. He passed a few years ago. And he was a very pesky, very like, if he had something to say, he was going to say it and he wasn't going to back down. She's like, that's classic him. And she was like, it's ironic because right now I'm struggling with a major life decision. And I've thought and said several times, I wish I had him to talk to about it. Like he was someone I'd go to for advice.
Yeah.
And he came through and like delivered some words of advice to her via you. I gave Crystal no one's name. She had no reference point for who any of these people have never met. Literally, I was the only one who had met Crystal and my sister Jonna there, but there was absolutely no way you could have known that. I
right.
didn't even know she had a deceased Grandpa Ruben.
I didn't realize that.
No, that
my
was the first time I
gosh.
learned about it. So when she started hysterically crying, I was like, hold up.
I will say that's like probably one of the first times though, like where I truly tapped into the mediumship, which is like being able to talk to the other side. It scares me because it's something I haven't practiced.
Yeah.
And it's not
I'm
because
sure.
it's like dark and
It also probably feels extremely vulnerable, right?
totally
Like,
because you're trusting in something with someone's like grief or like at one point in time, and just like this is personal, and it's like to be able to share that and then be fearful that you're wrong, like you really got to be confident in those nudges, and I just had to like go with it, and I've done it
you
a couple
did, and
times
it was
now.
like you were
Yeah.
spot on. That was the craziest thing. Like
Yeah.
you really were trying to talk yourself out of coming forward in that moment, but then you're like, okay, like I give up.
Yeah, I'm like,
This guy won't leave me alone.
Literally, and I do recall that time because I was living in Denver, and my 400 square foot studio was so small. It's like anytime I did invite mediumship into that space, it was hard for me to know how to like cleanse, and it would linger, and so it kind of made me feel like I don't want to do this. Like, you know, like those are like one of the first moments when I would tap into mediumship, which I'm still a work in progress with, but
It was an honor to witness. I definitely believe in your abilities. I hope
Thank
you
you.
continue to explore and practice it and
yeah, that's the
gain
goal.
more confidence. I've always selfishly like had this dream that one day someone with medium abilities will be able to channel my dead father
Okay.
because I've never connected with him.
Can I share something with you?
Yes. Yeah.
So yesterday when I was saging the house and
Yeah.
I was like cleansing your home, your dad was sticking out. Like he wasn't saying anything, but like
do you
when I
mean?
saging your picture wall, and I don't know how to describe it. Like my sage bundle like came off. Like a piece of it was lit and burned off. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I do feel like there was something that he was trying to say. I just didn't know what. I didn't ask. Like
Really?
I didn't want to tell you because like
Can you go?
I'm like,
need you to get the message.
no, I
Wait,
do,
really?
Yeah, I did feel him. Like he was very out of all the people on that wall, he just stuck out.
Stop.
And you've only showed him to me once, and his name is John, right? Like you, okay, yeah. So yeah, I
Did he tell you his
no,
name, or
he-
did you remember?
No, I
Okay,
remembered.
was like,
But he did stick out when I was like cleansing your house. I
Wow.
don't know why.
that means a lot to me. I'm kind of desperate to feel connected.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to talk about because I'm like, I have no memory, no recollection of him. And
Yeah.
sure, I love him and I'm like proud of the man he was and what I know of him.
Mm-hmm.
But also just like my life growing up, I had stepdads and that complicated things
Yeah.
with like being able to acknowledge my own dad's presence. Oh, we won't get into it. But see, when I got into this apartment, I was like, I'm gonna put up every picture I have of my dad. And
Yeah.
I think I have almost all of them out, or most of them.
Yeah.
And I made sure he was heavily on that wall because it's
Yeah.
like special.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he was sticking out,
He definitely did.
Oh my God, that
I
makes
like
me
he
so
bounced out to
happy.
me. So I don't know. Maybe one day
Okay, we'll explore.
Yeah, we'll explore.
I'm like, that makes me so happy because I'm like, I don't think it's like he's not around and he's
Yeah.
not looking out for me or protecting me or caring. I think he's actually probably protected me most of my life.
Yeah.
It's just that I feel very disconnected. I don't feel it. I don't sense it. I don't see it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we can explore.
You're always welcome to come through, even if it's like something hard or scary. Like, I'm very open.
Okay.
I'm very open to hearing about that stuff. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Wow.
of course.
I wonder what my sister and my mom are going to think of this. I didn't realize that TikTok really was the catalyst for.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of
Like I didn't know
ironic
anything
and
about.
hilarious because I made a joke about it, but it literally is the thing that helped lead you there.
No, yeah, and now I have like an amazing community there.
You really do.
Yeah, I've just my diehard, loyal clients and just like supporters in my journey thus far.
Yeah.
Like just, I mean, people have been with me since 2000. Oh my gosh, I would say 21.
Since almost the beginning.
Yeah. I've moved 3 states in 5 years. I think I'm done living in Salem.
I'm tired
like,
for you.
I'm like, bury me in one of these cemeteries, please.
This girl can pack a box. with a
And
quickness.
unpack it
I will
again.
say you're very efficient. Very efficient.
Oh my
Like you've
gosh.
got it down to a science.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another interesting thing about you. You've been super transient. You've bopped around. You've given different places, different scenes a try, just like following your gut and like an
Yeah.
idea or a dream you had, like what would life be like here? And
Yeah.
I appreciate that you've done that, and I think you'll never regret doing that, especially in your young 20s while you don't have
Mhm.
major responsibilities, a
Right,
family,
or
like, you know, all the
kids,
things.
yeah.
But like you gave yourself the freedom and the space and the time to explore and see
Yeah.
where it was for you.
Really never wanted to live a life asking what if. Like, that was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Or a life in regret, just like not doing something. I will say, I think it's very to a fault sometimes because growing up in foster care, all you know is like bouncing to place. And now
Mm.
it's kind of like, am I doing this really because I see something for a vision, or is it because this is all I know? So it's like a fine line, but I will say, like, I
Yeah.
have been definitely searching for a place to belong, and Salem is probably one of the only places that I've been thus far that has truly made me feel like this is where I'm meant to be and this is where I'm supposed to leave a legacy.
It seems like Massachusetts in general is where you've
Oh,
really clicked
yeah.
with community and
Yes.
feeling your happiest, like you're most excited to conquer things
Mhm.
and create life and build life, even if it's hard, even
Yes.
if it's expensive. I feel like that's the one place where it really hasn't broken your spirit or like worn you
Yeah.
down too much.
I will say the first time I moved to Mass in 2021 with Anna, I definitely did it impulsively. I did not expect it to be so expensive. And like, I adopted a dog, I moved in with Anna, like a lot of changes. Like, I had to quit my job after 3 months and then go like entrepreneurship. Like, it was a lot of adjusting. And then the hard winter like really crushed my soul.
As a do. Can you explain to the audience your connection with Anna and how you met?
Yes. I want to say in 2021 or 2020, something like that. Yeah, it was winter of 2020. Okay.
Mhm.
I came across a TikTok video. Anna Vitoni was driving across the country, or had been already at this point, in Massachusetts. I saw her video and she just lit an ember in me that I forgot I had. Like, truly just hearing her story of dealing with immense loneliness and wanting to see the foliage in a different part of life, also growing up
Mhm.
in California, like, truly inspired me.
Anna's another dreamer.
Oh
a
my
kindred
gosh, it's
dreamer.
that Leo big-hearted energy.
Yeah.
I just was drawn to her. I was like, I gotta know her. And I like literally stalked all her socials, got in her program. I dressed up like to the T for the interview.
Same, I wear a blazer and
Yes,
a turtleneck.
I did too. And I recorded our call.
That's
like,
hilarious.
she didn't know. Sorry. I like just remember the first time I met her, super genuine, down to earth. I really needed to know her like more. So I got in the program, became a coach, and 6 months later I get a job in Boston, and I humbly call her and I'm like, Anna, can I like please stay on your couch while like I get on my feet in Boston? And she was like, I need to think about it. Ends up saying yes. And I spent 14 days on her couch in Beacon Hill in her studio.
Mm.
And we just were inseparable from that point on. I found an apartment, only lived there for a few months before we decided to become roommates. We adopted 2 dogs from her family litter and drove them across the country because what's better than a dynamic duo of Leos and Libra dogs?
2 moms raising 2 sibling puppies. I think that was such a special time in both of your lives.
It was very defining. Like, we really bonded. It was the first time I ever saw Anna cry. Like, I still look up to her, but I saw her so professional
right.
and like,
She's very buttoned up,
yes,
really.
and to be able to see her vulnerability and just like, you know, come to this place of like trust with me,
Mhm.
I was like, yes, like this is what I've been wanting, and like to be able to see the side of you.
As an outsider friend, I think you helped play a big part in that. And I think she's given you
Thank
credit
you.
for that too.
Yeah, she's done so much
You-
healing in my life.
You
as
both
well.
have. Your friendship is one of fate and not of
Yeah.
coincidence. You were meant to find each other and help each other
Yeah.
through that season of life.
All right.
And I do want to mention, as I said up top, Anna Vitoni is a friend of the show, and she's been on. She was on episode 3, and she actually gives her account of meeting Crystal and the roommate journey and the puppies of it all, everything. So if you want to hear it from the other side, or the other perspective, like let's go
Yeah.
for full circle. Go on back to episode 3 and
Yes.
listen, give it a watch, and back to Crystal.
So yeah, like we became roommates, and that year was like truly the most defining year for me and my mental health. As as much as I was a dreamer, like Boston was hard to live in, but like Anna was just the type of person that she was like, "Yeah, you can take my car." I'm like, "And drive it in Boston?"
She's
Like,
so generous.
she was just so generous. I never, as someone who dealt with conditional love your whole life and like trauma and abuse, to meet someone who is so giving and without any hidden agenda or need for reciprocation, I was like, what's the catch? Why
Yeah.
are you so generous? And I was skeptical of her first.
I mean,
But-
when you meet someone as beautiful and smart and cool
my
as Anna, you
gosh.
think,
I was like,
what is
little-
really going on behind, but she's the
Right.
real deal.
She is. And so we just chose each other through and through. She met me with so much patience, unconditional love, and grace. Like, she challenged me. I'll never forget, like, I was just so deathly ill with COVID at one point when we lived together, and she was like making me a meal and like just taking care of me, and I took care of her. Yeah. And like when she found Trevor, it was really hard for me to let her go. But I wanted nothing more for Anna than to be happy and in love that she deserved. And I gotta say, Trevor knows this. Like, at first I wasn't fond of him, but like
Shout
he grew
out
on me, and I was actually mentioned in his vows. Like, it was really special.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Trevor.
I know.
Okay, you softy. I haven't
Truly,
had the
like-
pleasure of meeting him in person, but I'm looking forward to that day.
Yes.
Mr. Vitoni.
Yes.
I always say it's Mr. and Mrs. Vitoni.
Yes. I know, it's crazy to think that there's Scanlons now.
I know. She'll always be Banana Vitoni to me.
Yes. AKV. Till this day, we're still in touch. She lives 2 hours south of me, which is kind of a trek, but I mean, I'm having a housewarming party here in the near future, and she's gonna come, and she's already seen my place. Like, she's been so supportive of just like my dreams and my mental health
Yeah.
and my love journey, which
That bond isn't
That's a
going
whole nother
anywhere.
story.
You will always will choose to make the time
She-
for each other.
we always tell each other that she's like, we're our platonic wives. Like,
Totally. I mean, I don't want to rush anyone's life by. I don't want to put anything out there, but there comes a time in a day where the wives outlive the husbands.
yeah.
Most of the time, 90% of the time. Y'all can just move back in your later years and be
No,
little old
literally.
ladies together.
I miss that year. I do.
Yeah, I'm
we
sure.
like reminisce on it all the time.
No, it's just,
It was a beautiful time.
yeah, those are really special times when you get to live with someone you really, really click with and
Yeah.
you love, and you just have so much fun together, and you kind of make your own little family, and
Yeah.
it's really wholesome
It
and
was.
special.
That was the year she found out she had ADHD and I had borderline. So we were just like going through,
On journeys together.
yeah,
Wow.
like we were really trying to help each other discover like what that meant for us and how to move through that.
I can't help but think how different both of your lives, and specifically that year, would have been for both of you if you had not had the support of each other.
Yeah, totally.
Been super,
I
super hard and isolating.
Oh yeah, that's why I think today I was able to like live with a roommate, and like because with borderline it's really hard to like be in intrapersonal relationships in general.
Can you explain what borderline personality disorder is?
I'm still learning it, but it is definitely a mental illness that comes from just a tumultuous, chaotic childhood, and like because it's prevalent in your adulthood. Like, you don't really know so much in your childhood, but how to like create social skills. There's two different types. Like, you can be a passive aggressive person or aggressive. You just have very high expectations of people, and if they don't meet it, and you like those rose-colored glasses get broken, like it could be like you're just gonna bottle it up and one day explode, or be super confrontational and kind of like not know how to cope with it. And so it's like takes a lot of dialectical behavior therapy to be mindful how to like bestow like good practice in yourself and the connections you're making without taking things so sensitively or personal. And it's a everyday work. Like it is one of those things that is uncomfortable, and to not see life so black and white, and
Yeah.
just abandon ship when things get hard, especially relationships. Like, it is something I still struggle with, but I'm so aware that it is a struggle that I'm able to like overcome slowly but surely,
Yeah.
and hopefully one day land like a solid, healthy relationship.
You will, undoubtedly. I mean,
Thank
you're
you.
already doing the work to be able to live a healthy life and cope with it. And you're
Yeah.
aware. Awareness is number one step, biggest
Yeah.
key. And you're
Yeah.
more than aware. And I love that you don't present to be ashamed of this
Yeah.
or let it be the narrative of your life.
Yeah. I'm definitely trying to reframe that. For a long
Mhm.
time, it used to be like, I'm still a victim and I'm still like mentally
Mm.
ill. And it's not to discredit that I do have mental illness. Like, it's just
We all do.
I'm learning how to like
We all
work
do.
through those things. Like,
If you
I'm
don't, you're
also a really
lying.
fucking cool person and have a big personality.
Back to more of your journey with tarot reading
Mhm.
and spiritual coaching. What are
Yes.
the dreams, the goals, the ambitions? What do you
Oh
what do
my
you
gosh.
see for yourself there? Get it?
In Salem?
Or just like in general with that path, is this a path you want to continue to pursue?
Oh my gosh. I
Okay.
think this is gonna be me, like gray hair and all. Like, this is like another thing with borderline. You can't keep a job like for more than 1 to 2 years typically.
Hmm.
This is the longest I've ever stayed with something, which is telling.
That's amazing.
So my goal is to intuitively guide and heal people for the rest of my life, like through tarot cards, through mediumship, through teaching tarot for beginners who want to like do what I'm doing, or just be able to educate themselves in like what it means to be a true authentic tarot reader. I think that there are a lot of instances where tarot readers just want to make money for whatever reason and not like have good intention. But my goal is to just like bring a community together and offer my services and leave a legacy in this way and create a tarot deck and open up a shop in Salem hopefully one day and
Ugh,
write a book.
dream. Amazing.
Like,
so
that
many.
is the goal.
I love all those goals.
Yeah.
You'll definitely do them all.
Thank you.
I can't wait to read your book. I can't wait to visit your shop. I think you are going to continue to meet and help a lot of really cool people and make really awesome connections and be super respected and regarded within the spiritual
you.
world community.
I appreciate
And
that.
you're absolutely right. Like, I do think, unfortunately, a majority of people who work within the spiritual world claim to have abilities and gifts and powers that they are manipulating to prey on.
Vulnerable people.
Right.
Totally. And that's not my intention.
Well, it's not your intention and you don't do it.
No. Yeah. I love what I do. I never work a day in my life.
I've witnessed and I've experienced so many readings with you now. You never just try to choke through something or give a half-ass response. If you're like, I'm not getting clarity on this, you're really upfront about it. You're like, this isn't coming. You're not meant to know this. This isn't coming through. Like, you're really honest about what you're able to hand off and what not. And you never pretend to know something you don't.
Because I also believe in karma. You're still learning. Like, it's just, it's equivalent to teaching. Like, you're not going to know all the answers. And I will be very honest about my students. Like, when I don't know something, it's like, just, I will get back to you though. Like, I will let you know if something comes up. And
you know, I believe that makes you 10 times more credible.
Thank you.
Because people who act experted and that they don't have any flaw, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like, no one expects you to know every single thing in the whole world. That would be weird. You're not all knowing. You're not God.
Yeah.
So
thankfully.
I know we could talk about this all day, but
I
we
know.
must move on to the first segment of the show,
Oh my
which
gosh.
is Fronk 5.
Yes.
So last episode, I introduced a new segment called Fronk 5. If you caught it, please let me know what you thought in the comments. I'm really curious and excited to see. So Fronk 5 is a segment where a guest or even Miss CEO herself shares 5 things about a niche topic of our choosing. So Crystal, what are your Fronk 5 you will be sharing today?
So I'm going to teach you 5 ways to protect your energy.
Love. Okay, everyone's standing ovation in the room.
Okay, so number 1, trust your intuition. It is so important that you are able to recognize the initial feelings that you have, like when you walk into a space, when you meet new people, and lean into that. Intuition comes in many forms, but it's not this thing that demands a reaction. It's something that's very subtle and frequent and nudges at you, and you know you should be doing. So really trust that, because if you feel like something is not safe, like, remove yourself. That's protecting your energy.
Question, what are some of the ways that intuition comes through?
It could be like a gut feeling, like your stomach. It could be, I would say it's more physical.
Okay.
Sometimes people can hear like little nudges in their ear, like, don't do it.
Well,
Like,
wouldn't
or
that
you
be
need
so
to, like-
simple?
It's one of those things you have to be mindful, or it's just like a thought that keeps coming. I feel like
Mhm.
intuition just can show up in more sensory
Okay.
ways. Second one is set boundaries, like learn to say no.
Mm.
This goes for anyone who's practicing or not practicing spiritual work, like all of these ways to protect your energy. Like saying no is a complete sentence, and you don't have to literally give anyone your time if you don't want to. The people who matter won't mind, and the people who mind won't matter. Number 3 is let go of control. This is probably the harder one. Learn how to let go of the when and the why and the where of your questions. It's not your responsibility on how someone perceives you, no matter what you say or do. Like, let go of how something plays out. It really just puts you in a place of anxiety. Try to focus on the present, which is like breathing and expressing gratitude for what you do have control over and what you are in right now. It takes a lot of mindfulness to be able to let go of that control. Be unique. This is a boundary and a way to protect your energy, because my foster dad used to always say, dead fish go with the flow. Like, literally, be unapologetically you. Don't get caught up in social media of what everyone else is doing. You are more than enough, and embrace that and learn how to love you for you and who you are and where you got to where you are. Also, ground yourself. This is important in a time that feels chaotic, stressful. Like, get out in nature, take your shoes off, like touch grass, and also like be able to visualize, like close your eyes even if you're in your home. Like, what does it look like to be in the present moment? Like, express that same gratitude, and do deep breathing. Like, you would be surprised how effective it is to be able to like just sit and do breath work and just be like turning off your phone for like 5 minutes, even if that's hard, to just get away, to ground and protect your energy.
Absolutely.
So
Let's take a collective breath together right now, everyone. Didn't that feel amazing? Thank you, Crystal, for sharing.
of course.
That was amazing. And, I think we're ready to do our big one if you are.
Okay. What is that?
I have to ask you the final question of the show,
Oh, yeah.
which is, what is something you would like to be Fronk about?
I have been thinking about this.
I'm excited.
Be unapologetically you, because at the end of the day, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So why would you put yourself in a place where you can't authentically be who you are? It's something I've learned. When you start trusting in yourself and your visions and the goals, people are pressed no matter what. So be fucking Frank and just be yourself.
I co-sign that 1000%.
Yeah.
I think that beautifully wraps up a lot of what this conversation has been about, is be yourself. Do what you want to do. Go
Yeah.
after your goals, your dreams. It's okay to dream big. It's okay to have really lofty goals. Just work hard
Literally.
and go for them and try. And even if you don't reach the intended outcome, you will likely unlock purpose in something greater or
Yeah.
more aligned along the way.
And failure is our biggest teacher. Like,
That's what all the most rich
you,
and successful people say in the world. So
yes. And
don't
like,
take it from us. Learn from
I'm
them.
like Kim Kardashian said, if someone tells you no, you're not talking to the right person.
And also know is a complete sentence.
Yes, madam.
Crystal, I cannot thank you enough for making the time to be here
Yes.
today and sharing and being so generous, so vulnerable, so open with your story. It's not easy to talk about this stuff,
No.
and it opens you up to criticism, judgment.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Well, no one in my community will be doing that. If you are, you'll be blocked. I just want you to remember that it's always 10,000 times more powerful than it is detrimental. And we just happen to see the trolls and the negativity more in a
Yeah.
digital age. The reality is we never know the full extent of our impact when we're
Yeah.
speaking in our truth, because everything impacts everyone so differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to trust that it's reaching the right people. And it
Absolutely.
will. So tell us what you have going on and where can people connect with you?
So you can find my website, crystalenriquez.com.
How do you spell that?
CRYSTALENRIQUEZ.com.
Love it.
For Instagram, it's Crystal M as in Mary Enriquez with one Z, and TikTok has the same one but two Z's.
Are you offering anything at this time or?
Yes. So I am offering officially again private sessions for one-on-one tarot readings via
Book your
Zoom.
private session.
Yes. So they will be 30 minutes or an hour, depending on your choosing. You can obviously follow me on social medias. On TikTok, I also do live TikTok readings, almost typically Thursday through Saturday nights. I am also doing private tarot lessons. So this is where you can get on a 1 hour phone call with me through Zoom, and I just teach you like whatever it is that we chat about. Like you decide what you want to learn in tarot for that hour, and there are different frequencies, so you can do like 3 weeks, 3 sessions, like whatever your heart desires. We can come up with something custom. And also in the near future, I will be opening up my 3-month course on how to learn tarot, how to master all 78 cards, how to learn different card spreads, shuffling techniques, tapping into your intuition, and give a positive reading in the difficult conversations. This is something that is fairly new, and I just really would love for anyone who's remotely curious to message me, email me, and I will be in touch with you.
Please reach out if you're intrigued or curious. I hope you get some business.
Thank you.
But more importantly, meaningful connections out of this.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
love you.
I
Rooting
love
for
you
you always.
too.
Never forget it. Thank you all for supporting Let Me Be Fronk. Again, I'm your host, Alyssa Fronk, and this is a bi-weekly talk show that comes out every other Wednesday on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, but YouTube is where the real magic happens. If you'd like to connect, send an email to letmebefronk@gmail.com. On Instagram, we are Let Me Be Fronk Show. On TikTok, we're Let Me Be Fronk. And on YouTube, we're Let Me Be Fronk. Please subscribe to my YouTube so I can unlock monetization. It would mean a lot. Thank you so much. Again, many thanks to Crystal for stopping by and sharing. Show her lots of love in the comments. All right, everyone, gotta go. Bye.
Bye.